I'm increasingly convinced that Republicans just can't win elections fair and square, or at least they're very, very worried about not being able to win elections fair and square in the future. A federal appeals court put on hold a ruling that struck down a controversial Texas voter ID law based primarily on the approaching election. This is a Texas voter ID law which required voters to produce government-issued ID before casting a ballot. It was struck down last week by U.S. District Court Judge Nelva Gonzalez Ramos, who called the measure an unconstitutional poll tax. Makes sense. However, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit stayed the ruling, saying there is value to preserving the status quo, basically saying we're now so close, time-wise, to when voting is set to begin, that it would be confusing or otherwise disorderly to now change the rules. So even though the lower court decided that this is an unconstitutional law, it has been stayed merely as a result of how close we are. We are proximate time-wise to this election. The appeals court rather pointed to the Supreme Court's decision earlier this month, which stopped Wisconsin's voter ID law from going into effect because of the same reason. Listen, this is just too close to this upcoming election. It's obvious what's going on, isn't it, Lewis? Increasingly as a result of demographics, right? The changing demographics of the electorate in many marginally or slightly red states. And Georgia is one of these, Texas is one of these, in conjunction with the realization that we do have a kind of liberalization from our broad electorate on the issues. Now, people are still very, very susceptible to being pushed in one direction by biased questions, right? Do you think the government should take over healthcare? No, people don't want that. However, if you ask people, does the government have some kind of basic responsibility to provide a basic level of care to everybody, regardless of what job they're working, their ability to pay, or anything else? And people actually say yes. For the first time ever, we have a majority of the country agreeing that there should be at minimum same-sex unions available, if not marriages, that there should be legal and safe access to abortion, right? We see where people stand on the issues. And Republicans know they have to rely on things like these voter suppression laws, push polling, telling people that the election is on a different day. They are realizing, Lewis, that things are not going in a positive direction for them.
And this has been happening for some time now.
Yeah.
The deceit, the trickery, and this nonsense. It's funny what percentage of these people who are in favor, legislators who are in favor of voter ID laws, are the same people who want no boundaries to cross or no IDs or anything when they want to buy guns,
right.
And things like that.
That not only that, there's that controversy, Lewis, and then that's like a very specific double standard, which is really good to point out. And then there's the broader one, right, which is government really should be doing nothing. We shouldn't have regulation on stuff. Businesses should regulate themselves. People should be able to essentially do whatever they want. The government should not be involved, except, we should really very specifically set what the early voting hours are in primarily Democratic or African-American districts. We should have very specific laws about which IDs are and aren't okay. That's the broad double standard that exists as well.
Yep. And it's incredible. But luckily for us, these voter ID laws have been shut down and luckily, we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, in some states, although we still have, as Brad Friedman told us, we have a serious, serious problem that is continuing to build in some other states. We'll take a break. We'll be back after this.